is saying that our relationship to work should not suffer the secular divide. That work is sacred. We make a division between the secular and the sacred, but God does not make that division. Did you know that the Bible never speaks about separating the secular from the sacred? In Colossians 3:22-24, Paul affirms what he just writes here in Ephesians, and he says, bondservants, those are love slaves. I don't know if you know what a bondservant is. Do you know what a bondservant is? Some of you, 1, 2, how many are interested in understanding what a bondservant is? You are, thank you. For you, I'm going to give you the thing. When people came into Israel and they had no property, they had no land of their own, they were starving to death. Israel secured that out of every harvest, a portion of the food was always left to the wayfarer, the stranger, those who did not belong to the covenant, the widow, the unemployed. They always had. But you know, there comes the winter time, and after the harvest is all gone, they got to eat. So this is what they would do. They would go to the owner of the property, and they would say, I will work for you for 7 years. I will work for you for 7 years, and you will provide a house for me and my children, and you will pay me a certain amount. And at the end of the 7 years, you will release me so that I can go on my own. And the common practice in Israel is that at the end of the 7 years, they not only released them, but they gave them enough so they could buy a piece of land so they can go on their own. But here's what's going on. This is what a bondservant is. So how many want to know what a bondservant is? A love slave? This is what it is. At the end of the 7 years, the owner said, you are now released. You have paid your debt. I now give you enough money to buy your own piece of property, get your own plantation going. You can go on your own. And the bondservant said, no, I have learned to love you so much that I want to permanently serve your house. And they would go to the front door, and they would take their earlobe, and they would pierce it, and they call it a ceremony. A ceremony. Everybody from the community would come, and they nailed their earlobe, and blood will trickle down. And that will be his public proclamation. I no longer serve this man for money. I serve him because I love him. Yes, this is when Paul says, a bondservant of Jesus Christ. He's saying, I don't serve him because he forgave my sins. I serve him because I love him. We need more bondservants in the church today. And so in Colossians 3:22-24 says, bondservants, obey in all things your masters according to the flesh, not with eye service, not as men please. In other words, I don't know if this happens at your job, right? Boss comes around, everybody gets busy typing. Boss turns around, you go right back to Facebook. And IAM and sending messages and reading the magazine and gossiping and talking about Monday Night Football. And this is what Paul is saying. Don't serve him while he can see you. Serve him when he can't see you. Now you're not getting this. Oh, I know you are, but there's just no habit. You getting it? Yeah. And you serve your boss when he can't see you, because then he knows that a Christian works all the time, not just when the boss comes around.
This is